Every so often, a pasuk in the set of the week, coupled by a Maimer Chazal or by a comment of one of the Mefarshim, be it a Rishon or an Achron, jumps right into your face and forces you to confront the reality of life that at times seems to be even larger or grander or more poignant than life itself. Case in point. Shivas Yomim Techaper Ala Mizbeach V'Hidashta Oso. For 7 days prior to the inauguration of the Mishkan, Moshe Rabbeinu was commanded by HaKadosh Baruch Hu to engage in a purification and a consecration of the outer Mizbeach, the Mizbeach HaNechoshes HaAdamah that was to be found in the courtyard of the Mishkan, V'haya HaMizbeach Kodesh Chodashim, securing the status of Kodesh Chodashim, of Holy of Holies for that Mizbeach. Kol hanogea b'mizbeach ikdash, to the degree that should something enter the Azara that was to be offered upon the Mizbeach, and then became puzzled, disqualified from being offered on the Mizbeach, should it be brought atop, it remains there. It doesn't descend. And upon this pasuk, Rav Moshe Feinstein Zatzal commented, he said, wait a second, this is the Mizbeach HaNechoshes to be found in the outer courtyard of the Mishkan itself, not even within the Heichal, not even within that which is referred to as Kodesh. And yet the pasuk refers to it as being the embodiment of Kodesh HaKadoshim, not simply holy, but holy of holies. In such contrast to the Mizbeach HaKatores, to the golden altar upon which the incense was brought daily, that was indeed to be found in the Heichal, in the Kodesh. And yet, that is never referred to as the Mizbeach of Kodesh HaKadoshim, of the Holy of Holies. And comments on Moshe Feinstein, Rav Moshe Zatzal, says, this certainly serves as such an integral lesson for all of us to appreciate that a person who is to be found within a setting of Kedusha, that a person who is fortunate enough to be found in a Beis Medrash, sitting amongst other Talmidei Chachamim, a place of holiness, that individual need understand that when he leaves that Beis Medrash, he will not simply be viewed by those amongst whom he will mix as being the embodiment of Kodesh, of holiness, but rather Kodesh Kodashim, holy of holies. And therefore, says Rav Moshe, that individual need understand, as indeed is cited by Chazal, shetzarech talmid chacham lizoher ma'od shelo yilmodu mimenu chas v'shalom davar ra af mihamasim she'enam ra'im, that person has to conduct himself in a fashion that he will be so greatly above any level of question that no one who will ever confront him will be able to learn from him anything negative whatsoever. Because indeed, because anyone who will come into his Dalet Amos will indeed seek to learn from that person. That individual who normally would be solely referenced as Kodesh becomes Kodesh HaKadoshim. And it's as if Rav Moshe is saying, I believe, that any person to be associated with a Beis Medrash or with an important religious Jewish cause or with Yiddishkeit, orthodoxy for that matter, is by definition a holy individual and will be perceived by others to be holy brothers, as it were, to be learned from, to be influenced by. And when I saw this comment on Moshe Feinstein Zatzal that I've seen over the years, but when I saw it again this year, it jumped out at me. Because there was an individual in the 20th century who indeed was unquestionably the father of religious Jewish music, one of the greatest sources of inspiration in Kiruv Rechokim, in the bringing of those who are far from Yiddishkeit closer to the cause. He was a person of immense knowledge, of great lumdus. He was a Talmud, as is inscribed upon his Matzeva. He was a Talmud of Rav Aaron Kotler Zatzal, Rav Shlomo Hyman Zatzal, Rav Lubavitcher Rebbe Zatzal, so close to them. And indeed, he was a Talmud as well of the Pachad Yitzchak, having learned in Chaim Berlin of Rav Yitzchak Hutner's Zecher Tzadik Levracha. And even though many, if not all of them, foresaw a grand future for him in the Beis Medrash, in the Kodesh, but he decided to leave the Beis Medrash, and Shlomo Carlebach went out to be Makar of others. And he looked at any and every Jew, no matter how far distanced and estranged he or she was from Judaism. And he looked at each one and he said to each one, "You're a holy brother, holy brother." And through song, and through tales, and through stories, and through his varmkeit, through his warmth and his excitement within the arena and orbit of Jewish music, he brought so many closer and kindled a spark that was thought to have been deadened within them and brought so many near. Unfortunately, both during the course of his lifetime and even posthumously, there were those who spoke, understandably, of a hanhaga, of a conduct in which he engaged to achieve bringing those who were far nearer to Yahadus, of a conduct that was not befitting a person who was from the Beis Medrash, a person who unquestionably in his younger years was Kodesh, and was viewed by those whom he influenced so greatly to have been Kodesh Kodashim. People looked at him and said that the holy brother personified was perhaps not being sufficiently infused with Kedusha and conducting himself with Kedusha in his quest for that which he sought to achieve. He was the Mizbeach, as it were, in the outer courtyard. But isn't it true that none of us could attend a chasana for the joining of a chassan and kava, whether it takes place in New York or it takes place in Florida, whether it takes place in Muncie or Williamsburg or Far Rockaway, the five towns, Yerushalayim, Kodesh, in Baltimore, anywhere in Eretz Yisrael, anywhere in the world, without minimally one of the nigunim being played for Od Yeshama being a song that came from the heart of Shlomo Carlebach. And isn't it true that there is nary a minyan or a shul that at one point or another doesn't either officially have a Shabbos Carlebach minyan for Kabbalah Shabbos at one time or another during the course of the year, or certainly sees the nigunim, the heartsick nigunim of Shlomo Carlebach, finding their way into the Kedusha that is sung either during Shacharis, the Komcha, or during the Musaf Kedusha, or even during the Chazoris Hashatz of Musaf during the Shalosh Regalim. And all of us seek to enter the courtyard of Hashem Yisparach with a little bit greater dveikus, clinging to Hashem Yisparach, clinging to Him, pining for Him, reaching out to Him, feeling ourselves elevated through song and through the words, either of David HaMelech or the Anshe Knesset Hagadola, to the nigunim that were penned by this holy brother, this Kodesh of Shlomo Carlebach. Often in life, we are challenged by the realities that don't seem to easily fit in to what we would have expected, desired, or understood to be the most appropriate way. And yet at the same time, Kol Nogeya, anything that touches such a Mizbeach, walks away with greater Kedusha. Have a wonderful Shabbos.